In an organization, in any day, you'll be getting hundreds of thousands of alerts. And how do you identify what's important, the signal within the noise? And we needed to build it so that it's ready for the AI era.
Everyone, David Bombal back with the amazing Chintan from Cisco. Chintan, on our previous video, one of the most interesting, well, there were quite a few of these comments, right? They we sounded exactly the same.
I know, I was surprised to read them.
That was very funny. But on a more serious note, I believe there's been some research. A lot of companies are looking to upgrade their networks, especially with this revolution with AI.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, David. I think, we've seen through some of the research that we've recently done, and it sort of comes as no surprise, but 97% of those that we surveyed said they believe it's critical to upgrade their infrastructure and their networks in particular to get ready for this next wave of technology which is hitting them, whether that's AI, whether it's more adoption on cloud, whether it's the Internet of Things as we see humanoids coming into their operations and their workforce. This is all sort of predicated on the fact that, for the last few years, we've really thought about AI in the context of GPUs. We've thought about the models and we've thought about the data, but we haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about, what does all of that run on? It runs on a network infrastructure and a fabric that has to be secure to enable that sort of AI world to scale into the enterprise. And so we spent a lot of time with our engineering teams really thinking about, our role in terms of supporting the AI era going forward. And we believe that we needed to create a new set of infrastructure that's been designed ground up to be ready to help organizations tackle what we've learned by working with all of the world's largest hyperscalers in helping them build their large-scale training and inference networks. But bringing that down into the enterprise takes a level of operational simplicity, the fact that we need to reduce complexity, and that we need to think about safety and security now more than ever. And so our approach has really been to think about the new scaling laws that we need to think about, the kind of bandwidth requirements, the sub-millisecond response times that, things like AI agents operating on our behalf, doing tasks in our operations will require. And every millisecond matters. And so network latency and how we think about the design becomes really important. But these agents that are now operating on our behalf are also working on critical tasks. Like if I give you a task to do, I'm trusting you to get it done. I kind of know what your operating model is and how you're going to approach it. And perhaps if you do something wrong, you're probably going to tell me and so on and so forth. Well, these digital agents have to be thought of in the same way, right? And so we need to put some guardrails around what they do. And so we've been thinking about how we infuse security into the network to really protect the environment, because if we want to drive the adoption of AI, because it has a lot of benefits from a productivity, from an efficiency perspective. We want people to trust these systems and be able to use them. So safety and security is of utmost paramount importance now.
I want to jump into security in a moment, but before I get there, I remember the good old days, if you like. Life was a bit more simple. I mean, we're just adding more and more and more and more stuff to networks, and it's really complex. I mean, how do we manage that?
No, you're spot on. I'm too from a time where the things were a little bit more simpler. And, we're into this era where I'd kind of call it this sort of complexity cliff. We are, as IT operations and NetOps teams and network administrators, playing swivel chair.
Yep.
Something goes wrong. Is it in our environment? Is it sitting in the public cloud? Has something happened on the transit connection? Is it in a VPC? Is it in a container somewhere? And so it's become really complicated. And as we see the influx of more and more devices, more and more things, and more digital agents and assistants doing work on our behalf, you multiply the complexity in an environment. And so I think we've all got fatigue. In an organization, in any day, you'll be getting hundreds of thousands of alerts. And how do you identify what's important, the signal within the noise, which is really going to matter? And I think we've got to a point where, as humans, it's impossible to manage that now. And so we need AI to help us do that. And so we're really thinking about this evolution of what we call AgenticOps. And this is more than just AI assistants. We're all using assistants now to get things done, and we're interfacing with them on using natural language to get our jobs done. And that's been hugely powerful. But actually, when we bring these assistants together, especially in the networking space, in what we're calling AgenticOps, it's really revolutionary. We're now building an environment which we're calling AI Canvas, where you've got this dynamic digital environment which is driven by AI, and it's driven by a generative UI, which is spun up on the fly, which brings together all of these different systems in a way that's more intuitive, it's more natural, and it bridges the boundaries, right? It goes across the branch, the campus, it goes into third parties, looks at trouble tickets, and most importantly, it gives you the next best action, right? And the ability to action that on your behalf. But we also think about this complexity, as you mentioned, and think about how we keep the human in the loop. So everything we're doing isn't about replacing someone, it's about augmenting someone. It's how do we take all of this knowledge and data? Remember, everything touches the network.
Yep. That's a good point.
Everything traverses through the network. And so we have this incredible visibility, which has been trapped up until now, and we're now surfacing it through some of the technology that we're introducing to the market, and actually allow teams who are operating these complicated networks now with far more operational simplicity.
Got to hit you with cybersecurity. I mean, complexity means that you're more vulnerable. Lots of attack surfaces.
Yeah, the attack surfaces has increased. I mean, if we, as I mentioned earlier, if you've got 100 employees, you've now potentially got 1,000 digital agents in your environment working on your behalf as we go forward, as we see the agentic era sort of growing up. We need to think about the guardrails. We need to think about the interactions. We need to think about what's going to happen if something goes wrong. And so rather than the traditional way of putting the perimeter around everything, these agents are going to be operating in your environment. They're going to go off to a third party. They're going to use modern context protocol to interact with something else to go and get that piece of work done. We need to secure that. We need to be able to test and understand what these models are doing, what these agents are doing, what kind of implications they may have. And so we're infusing security deeply into the network. We're not thinking about these two things as separate. Because again, I go back to, if the network touches everything, then you want to put security right at the heart of where the problem might be as that traffic traverses through the environment. And so, we've introduced brand new networking switches this week.
Gotta love some switches.
We're hugely proud of that because this is the biggest networking launch we've done in over a decade. And, these products are going to be the backbone of every enterprise, branch, retail, campus environment for years to come. And we needed to build it so that it's ready for the AI era. And so we knew that we had to fuse security directly in there. So we've introduced, alongside our Silicon One network processing chip, another co-processing chip inside the hardware that allows us to offload security functions directly in the switch itself.
Good.
So hugely powerful, hugely important. And then again, bringing that operational simplicity together.
Chintan, my biggest complaint is we never have enough time. So we've got to wrap up. Any closing thoughts or anything else you want to share?
Look, I think it's a hugely exciting time to be in networking, first and foremost. I think, we're seeing some incredible changes. The networks we collectively design today will define what businesses will become in the future. And I just leave you with this thought. I've been involved, and you have as well, in internet technology for such a long time. And, we're now seeing an era where, new connectivity paradigms are being developed. We're already working with our service provider partners, other providers in the non-terrestrial space. So actually taking internet connectivity into the space, routers in space, building designs that are allowing us to, with the likes of Starlink and others, build what I'd call the outer net. And so, if we start thinking about where things will go next in the future, we're really just scratching the surface of what networking technology will do as we pioneer new things in the future.
Next time, we need to have more time.